Hi everyone, welcome back. I try not to talk too much. I feel like speed talking without telling you too much. When we're talking about people getting a wage, that's like if you're working for your local supermarket, you're working for a building company, you're a policeman in Australia, you're a nurse in Australia, a lot of jobs, or the fire brigade in Australia, a lot of jobs, a lot of tradesmen, most tradesmen will get what we call overtime. Now what happened a long time ago in Australia, without going on too much about it, is that people say we're in the lucky country. We get paid at a higher rate of pay if you work longer than your normal hours. So I used to work for a company called Babcock's and Wilcox. They don't exist anymore, and they did maintenance on boilers in all the big factories. And I got paid normally for an 8-hour day. So if I worked a 9-hour day, for that extra hour I got paid more per hour than in the 8-hour day. If I work 10 hours, I get paid more. Interesting part, one time, when I first started, I'd only been with the company for a few days, I started at 7 in the morning and I didn't finish until 3 the next morning. And all these overtime rates kicked in, and it meant I got paid a lot more than I'd normally get paid for a day's work. But of course I did extra work. Now for an incentive, they actually wanted us to work to 7 o'clock the next morning. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd done all I could, and I was falling asleep and I couldn't concentrate anymore. And they let me go home at 3 in the morning. I should have kept going because I was getting paid great money. Let's have a look at it. One of the most common ones you get, the first you get is called time and a half, and a lot of people will write it down or refer to it as T and half. Now, looking at this in basics, let's forget about all the maths involved. Oh, still maths. What's half of that? And it's 11. So you're going to get paid $11 extra. So instead of getting paid $22 an hour, so for a lot of jobs, if you started at 7, you finished at 3:30. If you work to after 4:30, instead of getting paid $22 for that hour, you'll get paid $33 an hour. So this is where we had all our unions fought for our rights and said, if you're going to work extra, you need to pay us extra. Fantastic. Now watch it. If you don't want to concentrate, know what it's about. Time and a half is multiplied by 1.5, and all the time I'm nagging about so much with money is about multiplying. So the 22 times the 1.5 will tell you a new rate of pay. Now by the way, basically very few people get paid exactly in dollars. So that's going to end up, put in your calculator and you end up with $33. So if you work 2 hours at time and a half, instead of getting paid 22 and 22, you get paid 33 and 33. Look at another time and a half. Now a lot of you would know that half of 40 is 20, and you add it on, you get $60 an hour. That's fantastic. If I've multiplied it though just by 1.5, and I ignored all those other numbers, ignored those concepts, I just say time and a half, I multiply by 1.5, put in your calculator, it comes out at $60. Fantastic. So if you worked an extra 1 hour, you get 60. If you worked an extra 2 hours, you get 2 lots of 60, and on it goes. Now, this one is more like it. This is something that happens in real life. So, if I picked up my calculator and I worked out that amount, I've got it here, it would be $41.115. And what's really interesting, if you look at people's pay slips, I had a student about 4 or 5 years ago brought me their pay slip in. It'll have this 0.5 still written, this extra 5 written here. Money is written on 2 decimal places. But if you look at bank cards and bank statements, they'll have lots more decimals. So the rate at which you get paid, you still get that. It's actually a half a cent. So if you do understand it, you get your pay rate is $41.11, and it's actually a half a cent extra, 11.5 cents. So if you did a whole lot of hours, those half a cents count up. Not too much, but they do add up. But the banks and the paymasters, they have to do it exactly as they can, and they would round it off. So if you had an answer like that though, you could say it was $41, and back to my peekaboo method, is that digit a big one or a little one? It's a big one. So because it's a big digit, it rounds up. So instead of having 0.11, it becomes 0.12. So just be careful of that. Some teachers could be fussy and say you need to write what it is. But in the real terms, we're talking about calculating people's pay. Double time is much easier. So here was my job. I'd start at 7, 3:30. If I worked to 4:30, I get time and a half. If I worked to 5:30, I got time and a half. If I worked to 6:30, I got time and a half. If I worked after that, I got double time. So I actually got paid some very serious money, even though all I was doing basically is sweeping, cleaning up, picking things up, getting tools for people. Actually, I had to used to get the tea ready for the workers, so they'd have their tea ready for morning tea. So I did boiling the urn or boiling the kettle and having the tea just right. If I didn't have it just right, I'd get in trouble. So after that, instead of getting paid time and a half, you get paid double time. All double time is multiplied by 2. So if I multiply that by 2, instead of getting $24, get $48. By the way, all my family love, I've got people working for various places, and they love when they can get double time or time and a half when they're working on Saturdays and Sundays. Often is the case, and if they're on public holidays, even better. So $30 double time, I times it by 2, I go back to my red pen, and I end up getting $60. Now this one, if I multiply it by 2, I can see it in my head, but if you needed to, you pick up your calculator. 23.13 times 2. I've made life easy for me because I know double 23 is 46, and I know that double 13 is 26. So that's double time. So normally you don't go straight to double time. By the way, the job I did work some Sundays where I'd start at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and if my pay rate was normally $24, I'd get $48 every hour that I worked on a Sunday. Also applied for every hour I worked on the Saturday afternoon. So it was nice when they gave me Saturdays and Sundays, but it was a bit tough when you turn up to work on Monday and you've done a lot of hours work. But it was good pay, especially when I was young. I'm going to now look at an example of how to actually calculate someone's pay for a week if they had these calculations. I'm laughing to myself now by the magic of video. Here is our next question. What's going on here? Let's have a look at it. Her normal pay is $19.94. She works 35 hours at normal pay. So let's say you're struggling with the words. 35 hours at normal pay. 3 hours at time and a half. And 8 hours at double time. Let's have a look at what the calculations are. So her pay for the week. We talk about her gross pay. The pay before the government takes out tax. So have a look at what those numbers are. So she'd get $19.94 and she gets 35 of those. So a lot of people work 35-hour weeks. You could talk about 35 lots of 19.94. So we're doing multiplication here. Plus, she's going to get 3 hours. So this time I'm going to write the hours first. 3 hours at her normal pay would be $19.94. And let's see if you can take this in. If this works for you, I try different things, different people and what they're doing. So we had 35 hours at $19.94. 3 hours. We think it's going to be $19.94, but it's not. It's time and a half. So we multiply that by 1.5. So we're going to have 3 lots of the time and a half, and we're going to have 8 lots of the double time. So you're also going to get 8 lots of the 1994, but you're not getting paid at 1994, you're getting paid twice as much. So that's times by 2. Now, if you wanted to, in the sheet I had my class doing, they calculate this separate, and they calculate that separate, they calculate that separate, and then people got confused that you got to add up the 3. Now, at that point, to get the answer for this person's pay, you just multiply that all through. So I put that in my calculator and I get an answer of $1106.67. Not a bad pay for a person who normally gets paid nearly $20 an hour. So I was getting all the different parts together. Here's what I'm seeing from a lot of students. They'll read it, they'll say, I don't understand. I don't know where to start. Well, hopefully you can get the part where it's here, is that time and a half means you're going to multiply by 1.5. Double time means you're going to multiply by 2. We're still talking about this amount here, but we're going to multiply it by 1.5 and we're going to multiply it by 2. But don't forget, the person normally works their standard hours. If they didn't have any overtime, all they get is their 35 lots of 1994. So that's how we calculate time and a half. If you're on the wage, I'm a teacher, I get a salary, so I don't get these rates. I do get extra holidays though. But a lot of jobs, especially or a manager or someone in charge of the company, you don't get the extra penalty rates, but you do get often other incentives. So for teachers, one of the big incentives is to have extra holidays. I hope it helps. If you're enjoying it, please, people forget to press like. If you can press like, and I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. If you can get me an extra subscriber too, that would be great. Thank you.